In today's video, we will share secrets that can multiply your money several times over. We will tell you what tools rich people use to become even richer without making any effort. And most importantly, how to do it quickly, without waiting several years to retire and afford to relax on the world's most expensive beaches. I believe this is everyone's dream today. Before we continue, I have a few questions for you. Most people believe money is the goal, but the wealthy know something different. Money is a tool, a lever, a multiplier. And once you understand how that lever works, everything about your financial life changes. Because the truth is simple. The rich don't work harder than everyone else. They don't have more hours in the day. They don't possess some secret intelligence that the rest of the world lacks. What they understand is leverage, the ability to turn one effort into 10 results, $1 into $10, one system into endless income. And that understanding is what separates those who chase money from those who multiply it. Think about the average financial life. You wake up, you go to work, you exchange your time for money. You repeat the cycle, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. And if you stop working, the money stops. Your income is chained directly to your effort. That is not leverage, that is labor. The wealthy see money differently. When they earn $1, they do not ask, "What can I buy?" They ask, "How can this dollar work?" They treat money like an employee. Every dollar must have a job. Every dollar must produce more dollars. Every dollar must multiply. And that single shift in thinking changes everything. Here's the first rule of the leverage code. Money that is spent disappears. Money that is deployed multiplies. The average person spends first and saves what is left. The wealthy invest first and spend what remains. This is not a small difference. It is the foundation of financial power. Let's imagine two people. Both earn the same salary. Both live in the same city. Both work the same number of hours. But one person spends nearly everything they earn. The other uses part of every paycheck to build assets. 5 years pass. 10 years pass. 15 years pass. And suddenly, their lives look completely different. One is still trading time for survival. The other has money arriving even while sleeping, not because they worked harder, but because they used leverage. Leverage is the invisible force behind nearly every fortune. Businesses use it. Investors use it. Entrepreneurs use it. And once you understand it, you begin to see opportunities everywhere. Leverage appears in 4 powerful forms: money, people, technology, and systems. These are the 4 engines that multiply effort. And throughout this audiobook, you will learn how each one works. But first, we must break a dangerous illusion. The illusion that wealth comes from income, because income alone does not create wealth. Doctors earn high incomes. Lawyers earn high incomes. Executives earn high incomes. Yet many of them remain financially trapped. Why? Because income without leverage is just a treadmill. You run faster, but you stay in the same place. Real wealth comes from ownership. Ownership of assets. Ownership of systems. Ownership of income streams that operate independently of your time. When you own assets, money flows whether you work or not. When you own systems, value multiplies without constant effort. When you understand leverage, income stops being limited by hours. And that is the moment everything changes. But here's the truth that most people never hear. Leverage is not about getting rich quickly. It is about building momentum, because leverage compounds. A small advantage today becomes a massive advantage tomorrow. A small investment today becomes exponential growth over time. A small system today becomes a powerful machine years later. The rich are not obsessed with speed. They are obsessed with multiplication. If this idea resonates with you, pause for a moment. Think about the money you earned this year. Now ask yourself a powerful question. How much of that money will still be working for me 5 years from now? Most people never ask this, but the wealthy ask it constantly, because every dollar that works for you is a step toward freedom, and every dollar that disappears is time you will have to earn again. So here is the shift. From today forward, design leverage. Workers survive design leverage. Workers survive. Architects multiply. And once you begin thinking this way, your entire relationship with money begins to transform. This audiobook will guide you through that transformation. You will learn how leverage works, how assets are built, how money multiplies, how systems generate income long after the initial effort is made, and how ordinary individuals turn small beginnings into financial independence, not through luck, not through secrets, but through understanding the code, the leverage code. Because once you understand leverage, money stops being something you chase and becomes something you design. But before you can multiply money, you must understand why most people never do. And the answer lies in a powerful psychological trap that quietly keeps millions stuck. A trap so common that most people never even notice it. In the next chapter, we reveal the invisible force that prevents people from ever escaping the cycle of effort and income. And once you see it, you will never look at money the same way again. Dear viewers, write which city you're from. It's interesting to see which corners of the world are watching our videos. Chapter 2. The Trap That Keeps People Poor. There is a system, a silent system, a system that shapes how most people think about money, and the system is designed to produce workers, not wealth builders. From childhood, we are taught a simple formula. Study hard, get good grades, find a stable job, work consistently, save a little, retire someday. For generations, this formula seemed reasonable, but in reality, it creates financial dependency. Because the formula never teaches leverage, it teaches labor. Most people grow up believing the only way to earn money is through effort. Work more, earn more. Work harder, earn more. But there is a problem. Time is limited. You cannot work 40 hours and earn the income of 400 hours. The math does not work unless leverage enters the equation. And this is where the wealthy think differently. They understand that effort alone will always be limited. So instead of increasing effort, they increase impact. They ask questions most people never consider. How can one action produce thousands of results? How can one investment produce income for years? How can one system replace hundreds of hours of work? These are leverage questions, and they lead to leverage solutions. But the majority of people never ask them because they are trapped in a mindset built around survival. Pay the bills, make the rent, cover expenses, repeat. When your attention is consumed by survival, leverage never enters the conversation. And that is why so many intelligent, hardworking people remain financially stuck. Not because they lack ability, but because they lack exposure to leverage thinking. The leverage code changes that. Because once you understand leverage, you begin seeing the world differently. Every business becomes a system. Every investment becomes a multiplier. Every opportunity becomes a potential engine of growth. And suddenly, money is no longer just something you earn. It becomes something you scale. But understanding leverage is only the beginning. To truly multiply money, you must learn the four forces that create exponential wealth, forces so powerful that they have built nearly every financial empire in modern history. Once you master them, your income will no longer depend on how hard you work. It will depend on how intelligently you build. And that changes everything. In the next chapter, we reveal the first and most powerful force of financial multiplication, the force that quietly builds fortunes while most people are sleeping. The force known as financial leverage. And once you understand it, you will begin seeing opportunities that others walk past every single day. Chapter 3. The first force of wealth. Financial leverage. There is a moment in every investor's journey when a powerful realization appears. A realization that changes how they see money forever. It happens when they understand this simple truth. Money can work harder than people. Most people try to build wealth using effort, but the wealthy build wealth using capital. And when capital begins to multiply itself, something extraordinary happens. Growth accelerates. Financial leverage is one of the most misunderstood forces in the world of money. Many people think leverage is dangerous. They associate it with risk, with debt, with instability. But the wealthy understand something deeper. Leverage is not about recklessness. It is about amplification. It is the ability to control a larger opportunity with a smaller amount of resources. And when used wisely, it becomes one of the most powerful tools in wealth creation. Imagine two investors. The first saves $50,000 and invests it directly into an asset. The second also has $50,000. But instead of buying the asset outright, they use that $50,000 as a down payment to control a $250 000 investment. Now, both investors are exposed to growth, but one controls 5 times the opportunity. If the investment grows by 10%, the first investor earns $5,000. The second investor earns $25,000 in asset growth. Same capital, different leverage, different result. This is how many fortunes quietly grow. Not through effort alone, but through intelligent use of capital. Leverage allows you to multiply the impact of your money. It allows $1 to control $5, $10, sometimes even $100. But this power must be respected, because leverage amplifies both directions. If the investment performs well, gains are magnified. If it performs poorly, losses are magnified as well. This is why the wealthy approach leverage strategically. They do not gamble. They calculate. One of the most common places where leverage appears is real estate. A person may control a property worth hundreds of thousands of dollars with only a fraction of that amount invested personally. Over time, 3 powerful forces work together. Appreciation increases the value of the property. Rental income produces monthly cash flow, and debt is gradually paid down. This combination creates exponential growth. The investor gains equity. The property value increases, and income continues flowing. What makes leverage so powerful is time. Because when leveraged assets are held for long periods, small advantages compound into massive outcomes. A single property can lead to 2. 2 can become 5. 5 can become an entire portfolio. But remember this: the wealthy do not rush leverage. They build it gradually. They ensure cash flow is stable. They ensure risk is controlled. They understand that leverage is a multiplier, not a miracle. Another form of financial leverage appears in businesses. When a company uses capital to expand operations, when it invests in equipment that produces more output, when it hires talent that multiplies productivity. These are all forms of leverage because they allow one effort to create many results. The difference between the wealthy and the average worker is simple. Workers increase income by increasing effort. The wealthy increase income by increasing leverage. That is the first force of financial multiplication, but it is only the beginning, because money alone cannot scale infinitely. To truly multiply wealth, you must learn to leverage something even more powerful: people. Dear friend, allow me to interrupt for a moment. Our team is currently working on improving our channel and videos. May we ask you, dear viewer, what you like about our videos, or perhaps what you would like to see in our videos? Perhaps a different video format, or a different format for presenting audiobooks. Be skeptical. Your skeptical expert opinion can help us improve our videos even more. Thank you very much. We look forward to your comments under the video. Let's continue. Chapter 4. The second force of wealth. People leverage. No great fortune was ever built alone. Behind every successful company, every global brand, every financial empire, there is always a network of people. Because human effort, when organized correctly, becomes a multiplier. Think about the limitations of individual work. One person can only produce so much. One person can only serve so many customers. One person can only complete a certain number of tasks. But when teams are formed, productivity multiplies, ideas expand, systems grow faster, and impact increases exponentially. This is why entrepreneurs think differently about work. They do not ask, how can I do everything myself? They ask, how can I build a system where others contribute to the mission? Because once a team forms, leverage expands. 1 hour of leadership can direct dozens of hours of execution. One strategy meeting can influence hundreds of outcomes. This is people leverage. Some people misunderstand this concept. They think leveraging people means exploiting them. But the opposite is true. Healthy leverage creates value for everyone involved. Employees gain income and opportunity. Partners gain shared success. Customers receive better products, and the organization grows stronger. The real power of people leverage comes from specialization. Each person focuses on their strength. One person designs, another markets. Another manages operations. Another builds relationships. Instead of one person struggling to do everything, a team executes at a much higher level. This creates speed, and speed creates advantage. Look at any major company, technology companies, media companies, real estate firms. Every successful organization is built on coordinated human effort. Founders create the vision. Teams execute the strategy. Customers experience the value, and the system grows. The wealthy understand this early. They stop trying to be the hardest worker in the room, and instead focus on becoming the architect of systems. Because systems supported by people scale far beyond individual effort. But people leverage also exists outside business. Investors use financial advisors. Entrepreneurs use accountants. Companies use legal experts. These professionals protect and strengthen financial growth. Delegation becomes a strategic advantage because it allows leaders to focus on decisions that truly matter. Here's a powerful truth. If your income depends entirely on your personal effort, your growth will always be limited. But if your income is supported by teams, systems, and partnerships, your potential becomes far greater. However, even people leverage has limits. Teams still require coordination. Businesses still require management. Human energy still has boundaries, which is why the modern world introduced something even more powerful, a form of leverage capable of reaching millions, working 24 hours a day, and operating across the entire planet. The third force of wealth, technology leverage. And in the next chapter, you will discover how technology has quietly become the most powerful wealth multiplier in human history. Chapter 5. The third force of wealth. Technology leverage. There was a time when building wealth required enormous physical infrastructure, factories, offices, warehouses, large teams, and massive capital. Only a small group of people could access those opportunities. But the world changed, quietly, rapidly, irreversibly, and today one individual with a laptop can build systems capable of reaching millions of people. That is the power of technology leverage. Technology is the most powerful multiplier ever created. It allows a single idea to spread globally, a single product to serve millions, a single system to operate continuously without rest. Unlike human effort, technology never sleeps. It does not tire. It does not require vacations. Once built, it can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year after year. Think about the scale of modern digital businesses. A YouTube video recorded once can generate income for years. An online course created once can teach thousands of students. A mobile application built once can serve millions of users simultaneously. A piece of software can process millions of transactions in seconds. This is leverage at its highest level, because technology separates effort from scale. Before technology, growth required adding more people, more workers, more locations, more hours. But with technology, one system can expand infinitely. A digital product can be sold 10 times or 10 million times with almost no difference in effort. And that is the fundamental shift of the modern economy. The wealthiest individuals today understand this deeply. They build platforms. They build networks. They build digital infrastructure because platforms scale faster than labor ever could. Look at the largest companies in the world. Technology companies dominate global markets, not because they work harder, but because they leverage systems capable of reaching billions. And here is the most powerful realization. You do not need to build the next global technology company to benefit from technology leverage. You simply need to learn how to use the tools that already exist. The internet has created an open marketplace for ideas, knowledge, creativity, skills. Anyone can create content, publish knowledge, build communities, sell digital products, offer services. The barrier to entry has never been lower. But while opportunity has expanded, something else has happened. Distraction has increased. Millions consume digital content every day, yet very few people create it. The majority remain passive observers in the digital economy, scrolling, watching, reacting, while the creators quietly build digital assets that generate income around the clock. There is a simple principle behind technology leverage. Creation multiplies. Consumption disappears. The content you create today can produce value tomorrow. The systems you build today can operate for years. The digital assets you launch today can compound into income streams that grow over time. But the content you consume disappears the moment it ends, and that difference defines who builds wealth and who funds it. Technology leverage rewards consistency, not perfection. Many people hesitate to create because they fear imperfection. But the digital world rewards those who show up repeatedly, those who learn, adapt, improve. Each piece of content becomes an asset. Each product becomes an experiment. Each improvement strengthens the system. Over time, momentum builds, and systems begin to operate with less effort. Technology also democratizes opportunity. You no longer need permission to start. You no longer need gatekeepers, a camera, a laptop, an internet connection. These tools can launch businesses, build audiences, create income streams, and connect you with opportunities that once required massive resources. But technology alone is not enough, because tools do not create wealth. People using tools create wealth. Which brings us to the fourth and final force of leverage, the one that ties everything together, the force that transforms money, people, and technology into unstoppable growth. Systems. Dear friend, you are definitely on the right track if you are watching this video. Like, subscribe, and write in the comments which topic or problem concerns you the most. Chapter 6. The fourth force of wealth. Systems leverage. If leverage is the engine of wealth, systems are the machine. Without systems, effort remains scattered, inconsistent, unpredictable. But when systems exist, growth becomes repeatable, reliable, scalable. A system is simply a process that produces results consistently. Businesses run on systems. Airlines run on systems. Hospitals run on systems. Financial markets run on systems. Systems allow complex operations to function smoothly. Without constant supervision, most people approach income in a fragmented way. They work, they earn, they stop working. Income stops. There is no structure beyond personal effort. But when systems are introduced, everything changes because systems continue operating even when you step away. Imagine a business owner who personally handles every task: marketing, sales, customer support, operations, accounting. Their income is limited by their personal capacity. But now imagine that same business with systems in place. Automated marketing attracts new customers. Sales processes convert interest into revenue. Customer service teams handle support. Financial systems track performance. Now, the business functions as a machine. The owner is no longer doing everything. They are managing the machine. And this shift creates leverage, because systems transform effort into structure, structure into efficiency, and efficiency into scale. Systems leverage is what allows companies to expand globally. A restaurant franchise can open hundreds of locations because the process is repeatable. A software company can serve millions of customers because the platform operates automatically. An online course creator can educate thousands of students because the lessons are pre-built. Systems transform knowledge into infrastructure, and infrastructure multiplies value. One of the most powerful aspects of systems is automation. Automation removes repetitive work. Tasks that once required human effort can now be completed instantly. Payments processed automatically, emails delivered automatically, orders fulfilled automatically, customer journeys guided through automated sequences. Automation frees time, and time is the most valuable resource in wealth creation. But systems are not just technical, they are strategic. A personal budgeting system can stabilize finances. An investment system can ensure consistent growth. A productivity system can increase output dramatically. Systems reduce decision fatigue. They create structure where chaos once existed. Here is a powerful principle. Wealth is rarely built through isolated efforts. It is built through well-designed systems repeated over time. The person who invests consistently every month for 20 years will outperform the person who invests randomly. The entrepreneur who builds scalable systems will outperform the one who depends only on effort. The creator who publishes consistently will outperform the one waiting for perfection. Systems reward discipline, and once systems combine with leverage, something remarkable happens. Momentum, growth begins accelerating, income becomes less dependent on hours worked, assets multiply, opportunities expand, and financial freedom begins moving from possibility to probability. But there is still one question left unanswered. If leverage is so powerful, why do most people never use it? Why do millions remain trapped in the cycle of effort and income? Why do some individuals build extraordinary wealth while others struggle for decades? The answer lies in something deeper than strategy. It lies in mindset. In the next chapter, we uncover the hidden psychological barrier that prevents people from using leverage even when the opportunity is right in front of them. And once you understand it, you will see why so many people unknowingly sabotage their own financial future. Dear viewers, please write in the comments what assets you buy or are interested in. Perhaps these are stocks, or maybe cryptocurrency. It is interesting to see how you structure your investment portfolio. Also, please write what you think about real estate. Is it still relevant to buy flats today? Chapter 7. The Invisible Barrier. Why most people never use leverage. Leverage is powerful. The systems exist. The opportunities are everywhere. The tools have never been more accessible. So why do most people never use them? Why do millions continue trading time for money year after year? Why do intelligent, capable individuals remain trapped in the same financial cycles? The answer is not intelligence. The answer is psychology. There is an invisible barrier that quietly controls financial behavior. A barrier built from fear, uncertainty, and deeply conditioned beliefs about money. Most people grow up hearing the same messages repeated over and over again. Play it safe. Don't take risks. Just get a stable job. Security comes from stability. These messages are not malicious, but they shape a mindset built around avoidance instead of opportunity. Leverage requires a different way of thinking. It requires the willingness to step beyond traditional paths, to build systems instead of simply following them, to invest before certainty appears, to believe in long-term growth even when short-term results are invisible. And for many people, that uncertainty feels uncomfortable, so they retreat to what feels safe. But safety often hides the greatest risk of all: stagnation. The irony is that the system most people believe is safe is actually fragile. A single income stream, one employer, one paycheck, one source of survival. If that single stream stops, everything stops. That is not security. That is dependence. True security comes from diversification, multiple streams, multiple assets, multiple systems producing value. The wealthy understand this early. They do not depend on one income source. They build several. They design redundancy, because redundancy creates stability, and stability creates freedom. Another psychological barrier is the fear of failure. Leverage often requires experimentation. Starting a business, investing in assets, creating products, launching projects. Not every attempt will succeed immediately, but failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process that produces it. Every successful entrepreneur has failed multiple times. Every investor has made mistakes. Every creator has produced work that did not perform as expected. But they continued building, refining, learning, and eventually momentum appeared. Most people avoid failure so intensely that they avoid opportunity. They wait for perfect timing, perfect conditions, perfect certainty. But those conditions never arrive. The individuals who build leverage understand something powerful. Action creates clarity, not the other way around. There is also a deeper emotional layer, identity. Many people subconsciously see themselves as workers, employees, followers of systems created by others, because that is the identity reinforced throughout education and early careers. Shifting into leverage thinking requires a new identity, the identity of a builder, an architect, a creator of systems, someone who designs opportunities rather than simply participating in them. Identity shapes behavior. If someone believes they are simply a worker, they will seek employment. If someone believes they are a builder, they will create systems. The external world reflects internal beliefs, which means the first transformation in wealth building is internal. You must see yourself as someone capable of designing leverage. And here is the encouraging truth. Leverage is not reserved for the wealthy. It is not limited to elite investors. It is not restricted to those with large starting capital. Leverage is a strategy, and strategies can be learned. Anyone willing to study, experiment, and persist can begin building leverage into their life. But it begins with a decision. The decision to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a creator. The moment that shift happens, opportunities appear everywhere. Problems become business ideas, skills become assets, technology becomes infrastructure, time becomes a resource to design systems rather than simply trade for income. And once you begin seeing leverage opportunities, something surprising happens. You realize that wealth is rarely built through massive leaps. It is built through small systems repeated consistently, which leads us to the next crucial principle of the leverage code, the power of compounding. Chapter 8, the compounding engine. If leverage multiplies effort, compounding multiplies time. And when these two forces combine, extraordinary growth becomes possible. Compounding is simple in concept, but powerful in impact. It is the process where results begin producing more results. Growth builds on previous growth, and over time, the curve accelerates dramatically. In the early stages, progress appears slow, sometimes almost invisible, but eventually momentum appears, and growth becomes exponential. Think of compounding like planting a tree. In the first year, the tree is small. In the second year, it grows slightly larger. In the third year, the change still seems modest. But over time, the roots expand. The trunk strengthens. The branches multiply. And eventually, the tree produces fruit year after year. The early years were quiet, but the later years produce abundance. Wealth follows the same pattern. Small investments grow gradually. Reinvested returns accelerate growth. Additional assets increase the pace. And over long periods, the difference becomes enormous. This is why time is the most valuable asset in financial growth. The earlier compounding begins, the more powerful the outcome becomes. Two investors might contribute the same total amount of money, but the one who begins earlier will almost always end with far greater results, because compounding had more time to operate. But compounding does not only apply to money, it applies to skills, knowledge, networks, reputation. Every skill learned today increases your ability tomorrow. Every relationship built today opens opportunities later. Every project created today becomes experience for the next. Over time, these advantages stack on top of each other, and eventually the momentum becomes unstoppable. Most people underestimate compounding because they focus on short-term results. They want immediate success, immediate profit, immediate recognition. But compounding rewards patience, consistency, long-term thinking. The wealthy understand this deeply. They invest consistently. They build systems gradually. They reinvest profits instead of spending them prematurely. They allow time to do the heavy lifting, and over decades, the results become extraordinary. Here is one of the most important lessons of the leverage code. Small actions repeated consistently are more powerful than occasional bursts of effort. Investing a small amount every month for 20 years can outperform investing large sums sporadically. Publishing content consistently can build massive audiences over time. Improving systems slightly each month can transform businesses completely. Consistency creates compounding, and compounding creates momentum. Momentum creates leverage, and leverage creates wealth. But there is another secret behind compounding that most people overlook: protection. Because compounding only works when growth is preserved, which means protecting your assets is just as important as building them. The wealthy do not only focus on earning money, they focus on protecting it. And in the next chapter, you will discover why protecting wealth is one of the most important skills in the entire leverage code. Please like and subscribe if you want a better future for your children, your family, and yourself. It's very difficult to achieve success today, but I'm sure you'll succeed. All you have to do is learn and discover new things. Chapter 9. Protect the machine. Before you accelerate it, most people focus on making money. Very few focus on protecting it. And this is one of the biggest differences between those who build wealth and those who lose it. Because making money is only the first step. Keeping it, multiplying it, protecting it from erosion, that is the real game. History is full of examples of people who earned fortunes and lost them. Athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, lottery winners, millions earned, millions gone. Why? Because they understood income, but they did not understand protection. The wealthy approach money differently. Before they accelerate growth, they build protection around their assets. Think of it like building a fortress around a treasure. If the treasure grows but remains unprotected, eventually it disappears. Taxes, inflation, bad investments, legal risks, poor financial decisions, all of these forces quietly drain wealth when protection is ignored. There are 3 major threats to long-term wealth, and if you understand them, you gain enormous advantage. The first threat is inflation. Inflation quietly reduces the value of money over time. A dollar today will not have the same purchasing power 10 years from now. This means that simply saving money is not enough. Money sitting idle slowly loses strength, which is why the wealthy convert money into assets. Assets grow. Assets generate income. Assets protect purchasing power. The second threat is tax inefficiency. Taxes are one of the largest expenses most people will ever pay. But wealthy individuals study the rules. They structure investments strategically. They use legal frameworks that protect income. They build businesses and assets that offer tax advantages. This is not about avoiding responsibility. It is about understanding the system. and using it intelligently. The third threat is poor financial decisions. Emotion is the enemy of wealth. Fear causes people to sell investments at the worst possible moment. Greed causes people to chase risky opportunities without proper research. Impulse leads to spending that destroys compounding. The wealthy counter this with discipline. They follow systems. They make decisions based on long-term strategy rather than short-term emotion. Protection also means diversification. Never rely on a single investment. Never depend on a single income source. Never build your entire future on one opportunity. Diversification spreads risk. If one investment struggles, others continue producing results. This stabilizes growth. Another powerful protection strategy is liquidity. Liquidity simply means access to cash when opportunities appear. Many people tie all their money into long-term assets, and when opportunities arise, they cannot act. The wealthy maintain reserves because opportunities appear unexpectedly, and those who can move quickly gain advantage. Protection also includes insurance, not because you expect disaster, but because responsible builders prepare for uncertainty. Life insurance, property insurance, business protection. These tools create stability when unexpected events occur. The goal of protection is not fear. It is confidence. When assets are protected, decisions become clearer, risk becomes manageable, and growth becomes sustainable. Remember this principle. It is easier to protect wealth than to rebuild it, which is why intelligent builders always protect their foundations first. Only then do they accelerate the machine. But protection alone does not create extraordinary wealth. Protection stabilizes the system. The next step is expansion, and expansion requires a mindset that most people never develop. A mindset focused not on income, but on ownership. Chapter 10. Ownership, the ultimate leverage. There is a powerful line that quietly separates the wealthy from everyone else. Ownership. Workers earn income. Owners earn equity. Workers exchange time. Owners build assets. Workers earn once. Owners earn repeatedly. Ownership is the foundation of leverage, because when you own something that produces value, you gain access to every future result it creates. If you own a business, you benefit from its growth. If you own intellectual property, you earn every time it is used. If you own investments, you gain from appreciation and income. Ownership creates participation in future value. Many people underestimate the importance of ownership. They focus on salary increases, promotions, bonuses. But salary has limits. Ownership does not. A salary increases linearly. Ownership can grow exponentially. This is why entrepreneurs pursue equity, why investors accumulate assets, why creators build intellectual property. Ownership creates leverage because value continues expanding over time. Consider a simple example. Two people work at the same company. One receives a salary, the other receives a smaller salary, but gains ownership shares. If the company grows dramatically, the owner's equity multiplies. The employee's income remains limited to salary. Ownership captures growth. Salary captures effort. This principle applies across many industries. Artists who own their music catalogs continue earning long after the song is created. Authors who own book rights earn royalties for decades. Investors who own shares in businesses benefit from global expansion. Ownership converts creativity into long-term income. The modern economy has expanded ownership opportunities dramatically. Digital creators own their content libraries. Software developers own applications. Writers own intellectual property. Educators own online courses. Entrepreneurs own platforms. Ownership is no longer limited to corporations and factories. Anyone who builds something valuable can own it. But ownership requires patience. Assets take time to mature. Businesses take time to grow. Audiences take time to build. Compounding takes time to accelerate. Many people give up too early. They expect immediate results. But leverage rewards persistence. Think of ownership like planting an orchard. The early years require effort with little visible reward. But once the trees mature, they produce fruit year after year. The same principle applies to assets. Once established, they continue producing value. The wealthy focus their energy on building ownership. Each asset becomes a building block. Each investment becomes another income stream. Each system expands their financial foundation, and gradually, the structure grows. One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is this: what do I own that continues producing value? Not what you bought, not what you consume. What you own that produces income or growth. That question alone can transform financial behavior, because once you begin focusing on ownership, your priorities shift. You spend less on consumption. You invest more in creation. You move from temporary satisfaction to long-term power. And as ownership expands, something incredible begins to happen. Income stops depending on your daily effort. Assets begin producing value independently. Systems begin operating automatically. Money begins multiplying quietly in the background. This is the true purpose of leverage, not just making money faster, but building a life where your time is no longer controlled by survival. And in the next chapter, you will discover how the wealthy build multiple streams of leverage at once. Because the most powerful financial engines are not built on one system. They are built on ecosystems of income working together. Chapter 11. The Power of Multiple Streams. There is a dangerous myth that quietly traps millions of people. The myth of the single income stream. One job, one paycheck, one financial lifeline. At first glance, it seems stable, predictable, comfortable. But beneath the surface, it is one of the most fragile financial positions a person can have. Because when a single stream stops, everything stops. The wealthy rarely depend on one stream. Instead, they build financial ecosystems, multiple sources of income, multiple assets producing value simultaneously. Each stream supports the others. Each stream strengthens the system, and together they create stability. Think of income like water flowing through pipes. If you only have one pipe, your entire supply depends on it. But if you have 5 or 10 pipes feeding the system, your supply becomes far more reliable. Even if one slows down, the others continue flowing. This is the philosophy behind multiple streams of leverage. Many people assume building multiple streams requires enormous wealth. But that is not how it begins. It begins with one stream, then another, slowly, intentionally, consistently. Consider a simple progression. A person starts with employment income. Over time, they invest in dividend-paying stocks. Now they have 2 streams. Later, they create a digital product. Now 3 streams. Eventually, they invest in rental property. 4 streams. Perhaps they build a small online brand. 5 streams. Each addition strengthens the structure. The wealthy view income streams the same way engineers view support beams in a building. Redundancy creates stability, and stability allows growth. There are several categories of income streams that leverage builders focus on. The first is earned income. This is the income most people start with. Salaries, freelance work, consulting, services. Earned income requires active effort, but it provides the capital needed to begin building assets. The second category is investment income. Dividend stocks, index funds, interest from bonds. These assets produce income through financial markets. They often grow slowly but steadily, and when reinvested consistently, they compound dramatically. The third category is asset income. Rental properties, businesses, royalty-producing intellectual property. These assets generate recurring revenue. Once established, they can continue producing income for years, sometimes decades. The fourth category is digital income. Online courses, content platforms, digital products, software tools. These assets leverage technology and scale globally. They can reach thousands or millions of customers with minimal additional effort. When these streams begin working together, something powerful happens. Income becomes resilient. One slow month in one stream is balanced by growth in another. The system stabilizes, and with stability comes confidence. Many people wait until they feel financially secure before building additional streams. But the wealthy reverse the process. They build additional streams to create security. Each stream becomes another layer of protection, another engine of opportunity, another piece of leverage. But there is something even more powerful than having multiple streams. It is when those streams begin supporting each other, when the output of one system fuels the growth of another. This creates a financial flywheel. Imagine an entrepreneur who earns money through a business. They invest profits into dividend stocks. Those dividends fund new investments. Those investments generate more income, which is reinvested again. The system begins accelerating. Each stream feeds the next. This is how wealth quietly multiplies, not through a single breakthrough, but through interconnected systems that strengthen each other over time. But building multiple streams requires something many people lack: a long-term perspective, the willingness to build slowly, to invest consistently, to trust compounding, to resist the temptation of instant gratification, because leverage builders understand a powerful truth. Financial independence rarely arrives suddenly. It arrives gradually, then suddenly. Years of quiet construction, followed by explosive momentum. And the people who experience that momentum are those who stayed consistent long enough to build the system. Which brings us to one of the most misunderstood aspects of wealth building: time. If you appreciate our efforts and our thoughts, subscribe and like this video. We need to show the world that there are many people like us. We must always continue to improve. Chapter 12. Time, the most underrated leverage. There is a form of leverage available to every person on earth, yet most people ignore it. They underestimate it. They waste it. The leverage is time. Time multiplies everything: skills, investments, reputation, relationships, systems. If you combine leverage with time, growth becomes extraordinary. But if you ignore time, even powerful opportunities lose their impact. Consider two investors. One begins investing at age 25. The other begins at age 40. Both invest the same amount of money each year. Yet the first investor will likely end with dramatically greater wealth. Why? Because compounding had 15 more years to operate. Time amplified every investment. Time also multiplies knowledge. Every book read, every skill learned, every project attempted, every mistake corrected, each year adds layers of experience. And those layers increase your ability to recognize opportunities others miss. Time multiplies reputation as well. Trust builds slowly. But once established, it opens doors that effort alone cannot. People prefer working with individuals who have demonstrated reliability over time. Reputation becomes leverage. One of the greatest financial advantages you can develop is starting early. Even small actions taken early can outperform massive actions taken later. Consistency beats intensity. But time can also work against you. Procrastination destroys leverage. Every year spent waiting is a year compounding could have been working. Every delay reduces potential growth, and this is why action matters. Many people spend years studying opportunities without taking the first step. They analyze endlessly. They wait for certainty. But leverage rewards builders, not observers. The wealthy rarely wait for perfect conditions. They begin with imperfect action. Small investments, small systems, small experiments. Each step provides feedback. Each lesson improves the next attempt. Over time, those small experiments turn into powerful systems. There is another important dimension of time leverage: focus. Because how you spend your time determines the trajectory of your life. Hours spent consuming entertainment rarely create leverage. Hours spent building systems often do. Hours spent learning valuable skills compound into future opportunities. Hours spent creating assets multiply over years. Imagine two individuals with the same 24 hours each day. One spends most evenings consuming content. The other spends evenings building content. One spends weekends relaxing. The other spends weekends designing systems. 5 years later, their lives will look very different, not because of luck, but because of time allocation. Time is the ultimate equalizer. Everyone receives the same daily supply, but not everyone invests it. Leverage builders treat time as capital. They invest it intentionally, learning, creating, building, refining. Each hour becomes a seed planted for future growth, and when those seeds are planted consistently over years, the harvest becomes extraordinary. In the next chapter, we will explore one of the most powerful wealth accelerators ever discovered, a tool that allows individuals to multiply resources far beyond their personal capacity, a tool often misunderstood, feared, and misused. But when mastered, it becomes one of the most powerful engines in the entire leverage code. Debt. Chapter 13. Debt, the dangerous tool that builds empires. For many people, the word debt triggers fear, stress, avoidance, and sometimes shame. They think of credit cards, overdue bills, financial pressure. But the wealthy see something very different. They see leverage. Debt is not inherently bad. It is simply a tool. And like every powerful tool, it can either build something extraordinary or destroy something fragile. The difference is not the tool. The difference is how it is used. Most people use debt to consume. They borrow money to buy things that lose value: cars, luxury items, temporary experiences. The moment the purchase is complete, the value begins declining. But the debt remains. And so the borrower becomes trapped, paying for yesterday's consumption with tomorrow's income. The wealthy use debt differently. They use debt to acquire assets, assets that produce income, assets that grow in value, assets that eventually pay for the debt itself. This transforms debt from a burden into leverage. Imagine two people taking a $50,000 loan. The first buys luxury goods. The second invests in an asset producing $8,000 per year. 5 years later, the first person still owes money and owns depreciating items. The second owns an income-producing asset that may now exceed the loan value. same debt, completely different outcome. This principle has been used by entrepreneurs for centuries. Businesses often begin with borrowed capital. Factories are built with loans. Real estate portfolios expand using financing. Companies scale by leveraging external resources. Debt becomes fuel for growth. But intelligent leverage requires discipline. The wealthy follow clear rules when using debt. Rule 1. Debt must produce income or growth. If the borrowed money cannot generate value, the risk increases dramatically. Productive debt strengthens wealth. Unproductive debt weakens it. Rule 2. Control the risk. Leverage magnifies both success and mistakes. Small errors become large consequences when debt is involved. This is why experienced investors study opportunities carefully. They analyze numbers. They test assumptions. They plan for uncertainty. Rule 3. Maintain flexibility. Over-leveraging creates vulnerability. Too much debt reduces options, which is why intelligent builders maintain reserves, cash buffers, multiple income streams. Financial flexibility protects against unexpected challenges. Debt used wisely accelerates progress. But used recklessly, it becomes a trap. The difference lies in intention. Are you borrowing to impress others or to build something valuable? The wealthy ask a simple question before taking on debt. Will this debt create more opportunity than risk? If the answer is yes, they move forward carefully. If the answer is unclear, they walk away. This discipline transforms debt into leverage, and when combined with the systems we've already discussed, ownership, assets, multiple income streams, time, debt becomes a powerful accelerator. But financial leverage alone does not explain extraordinary wealth. There is another type of leverage even more powerful, one that allows individuals to multiply their efforts far beyond personal limits. Human leverage. Chapter 14, The Force Multiplier. People. No empire was built alone. Every great achievement in history involved teams, partnerships, collaboration, the ability to combine talent and effort. This is the leverage of people. Many individuals attempt to do everything themselves. They believe control equals security. But in reality, doing everything alone creates limitations. There are only so many hours in a day, only so much energy a single person can produce, only so many opportunities one mind can recognize. The wealthy solve this problem by building teams, not necessarily large organizations, but networks of talented individuals who contribute to shared success. Each person adds unique strengths, and together they create outcomes impossible alone. People leverage operates on several levels. The first is delegation. Delegation frees time. Tasks that do not require your unique abilities can be handled by others. This allows you to focus on high-value activities, strategy, creation, leadership, vision. The second level is collaboration. When multiple skilled individuals work together, creativity multiplies, ideas evolve faster, problems are solved more efficiently, innovation accelerates. This is why successful entrepreneurs surround themselves with diverse perspectives. The third level is partnership. Partnership creates shared incentives. Two or more individuals combining resources, skills, and networks. The partnership becomes stronger than any individual contributor. Many of the world's largest companies began with small partnerships. People leverage also includes mentorship, learning from individuals who have already traveled the path you want to follow. Mentors shorten learning curves dramatically. They reveal mistakes before they happen. They offer insight built from experience. There is also the leverage of reputation. When you consistently deliver value, others begin recommending you. Opportunities begin arriving through networks rather than cold outreach. Reputation becomes a magnet, attracting collaborators, investors, and clients. The wealthy invest heavily in relationships, not superficial connections, but meaningful partnerships built on trust and shared growth. Because the right relationship can open doors that effort alone cannot. But people leverage requires something many individuals struggle with: humility, the willingness to admit you cannot do everything alone, the willingness to invite others into the journey, and the willingness to share success. True leaders do not hoard credit. They multiply talent. They empower others. They create environments where individuals grow together. And in doing so, they expand the possibilities of what can be built. Imagine attempting to build a complex machine with only your hands. Now imagine having a team of engineers, designers, builders, strategists. The scale of what becomes possible changes dramatically. This is why the most powerful leverage in the world often comes from people, because ideas combined with effort create momentum, and momentum creates transformation. But even with financial leverage and human leverage, there remains another powerful force shaping wealth, a force invisible yet constantly operating, a force influencing opportunities, risks, and outcomes. The force is information. And in the next chapter, we will explore how the wealthy use information as leverage. Because in the modern economy, knowledge moves faster than money. And those who understand information systems gain extraordinary advantage. Chapter 15. Information, the invisible advantage. In every era of history, the most powerful people had access to something others did not: information. Not just knowledge, but useful, timely, strategic information. The kind that reveals opportunities early. The kind that exposes risks before others notice them. The kind that allows decisions to be made faster and smarter. Information is leverage. And in the modern world, it is one of the most powerful forces shaping wealth. Think about financial markets. The difference between profit and loss often comes down to timing. Understanding a trend early, recognizing a shift before it becomes obvious, seeing patterns others overlook. This advantage rarely comes from luck. It comes from awareness. Mentors and experts. Information becomes Information becomes a constant input guiding their decisions. But information alone is not enough. The world is overflowing with data, news, opinions, predictions, content everywhere. What matters is filtering, separating noise from signal. The wealthy develop strong filters. They focus on information that improves decision-making. They ignore distractions that consume attention without adding value. This ability to filter information becomes a massive advantage because most people drown in endless noise. Another important aspect of information leverage is pattern recognition. Opportunities rarely appear in isolation. They follow patterns. Economic cycles, technology adoption curves, market behaviors, human psychology. When you begin recognizing patterns, you see opportunities earlier than others. For example, technological revolutions create massive wealth opportunities. The internet, mobile technology, artificial intelligence, each wave created new industries. And those who recognized the patterns early positioned themselves ahead of the curve. Information also includes understanding systems, how industries work, how money flows, how incentives shape decisions. Once you understand systems, you can navigate them strategically. Instead of reacting to events, you begin anticipating them. This is why successful investors study industries deeply. They analyze business models, they evaluate leadership, they examine financial statements, they look for signals others overlook, because information reduces uncertainty, and reduced uncertainty improves decision quality. There is another powerful dimension to information leverage: access. The right conversations, the right communities, the right networks. Often, valuable information travels through relationships long before it becomes public knowledge. This is why proximity matters. Being around ambitious builders, entrepreneurs, investors, creators, people who share insights and opportunities, information also compounds over time. Every book, every conversation, every project, every failure, each experience adds another layer of understanding. And those layers create intuition, the ability to sense opportunity before it becomes obvious. The wealthy treat information as an asset. They invest in learning continuously, not because they enjoy studying endlessly, but because better information leads to better decisions, and better decisions compound into extraordinary outcomes. But information must lead to action. Knowledge without execution creates nothing, which is why the next step in the leverage code is critical. Turning knowledge into systems. Chapter 16, Systems. The engine behind wealth. Many people believe success comes from working harder, putting in longer hours, pushing themselves beyond exhaustion. But hard work alone rarely builds lasting wealth. Systems do. A system is a process that produces results repeatedly, without requiring constant effort. Once designed correctly, a system operates continuously, generating outcomes long after the initial work is complete. Think of a factory. Machines operate continuously. Products are produced consistently. The system runs whether the owner is present or not. That is the power of systems. The wealthy design systems for income, businesses with repeatable processes, investments with predictable returns, content that reaches audiences automatically, digital products that sell around the world. Each system produces value repeatedly. The beauty of systems is scalability. A person working alone can only produce so much, but a system can operate indefinitely, serving thousands or millions of people simultaneously. Consider software. A developer builds a product once, then millions of users can download it. The system scales far beyond the effort required to create it. Or consider online education. A course recorded once can educate thousands of students. Each purchase generates income without additional production. The system works continuously. Even traditional businesses rely on systems. Restaurants, retail stores, logistic companies. Each successful operation depends on repeatable processes. Systems ensure consistency. Systems also reduce decision fatigue. Instead of constantly improvising, a system provides structure, clear steps, defined processes, predictable outcomes. This frees mental energy for innovation and strategy. One of the most powerful financial habits you can develop is thinking in systems. Whenever you encounter an opportunity, ask yourself, can this become a system? Can it produce value repeatedly? Can it operate independently? Can it scale over time? If the answer is yes, the opportunity may contain powerful leverage, because systems turn effort into multiplication. But building systems requires patience, testing, refining, improving. Rarely does the first version work perfectly, but each improvement strengthens the machine. Eventually, the system becomes reliable, predictable, powerful, and once it does, it begins generating results automatically. At this stage, something remarkable happens. You move from working for money to designing machines that produce money. And when systems begin operating alongside other forms of leverage, assets, people, information, time, the results become extraordinary. But the final step in the leverage code may be the most important of all, because even with systems, knowledge, and leverage, one internal factor determines whether everything succeeds or collapses. Mindset. And in the next chapter, we explore the psychology behind those who build extraordinary wealth. Because the greatest leverage system in existence is the human mind. Chapter 17. The mindset that controls everything. At this point, you may be thinking something important. We've talked about assets, debt, systems, people, information, time. But there is something deeper beneath all of it. Something invisible that quietly determines whether these tools are used wisely or wasted completely. That force is mindset. Two people can have access to the same opportunity, the same information, the same resources, yet one builds extraordinary wealth and the other stays stuck. Why? Because mindset shapes perception, and perception shapes decisions. The wealthy do not see money the same way most people do. For many individuals, money represents security, a way to survive, a way to pay bills, a way to avoid discomfort. But for leverage builders, money represents possibility, a tool, a resource that can be deployed strategically, not something to hoard, but something to move, multiply, and direct. This difference in thinking creates completely different behavior. The scarcity mindset asks, how do I avoid losing money? The leverage mindset asks, how do I make money work harder? One focuses on protection, the other focuses on expansion. Both are important, but only one leads to exponential growth. Mindset also determines how people respond to risk. Many people avoid risk completely. They see uncertainty as danger, so they stay in comfortable routines, predictable income, safe decisions. But comfort often comes at the cost of opportunity. The wealthy understand a different truth. Risk is not the enemy. Uninformed risk is the enemy. When you study opportunities, when you gather information, when you analyze potential outcomes, risk becomes manageable and sometimes even necessary. Another critical mindset difference involves failure. Most people interpret failure as proof they should stop. They see mistakes as personal defeat. But leverage builders treat failure differently. Failure becomes data, feedback, a signal revealing what needs improvement. Every entrepreneur encounters mistakes, every investor experiences losses, every creator faces rejection. But the people who eventually succeed are those who keep learning, adjusting, continuing forward. Mindset also shapes patience. Building wealth rarely happens overnight, despite what flashy headlines suggest. Most fortunes are built quietly over years of consistent action, yet many people abandon the process too early because they expect immediate results. The leverage mindset understands compounding. Small improvements repeated consistently create extraordinary outcomes. A skill improved by 1% each week. An investment added each month. A system refined every quarter. Over time, these small gains multiply. Discipline becomes another defining factor. The ability to delay gratification, to prioritize long-term outcomes over short-term pleasure, to invest today for rewards tomorrow. This discipline separates builders from consumers. Mindset also influences how people interpret opportunity. Some individuals see obstacles, others see possibilities. Some see problems, others see markets waiting for solutions. This shift in perspective changes everything. When you begin thinking like a leverage builder, your questions change. Instead of asking, "How can I earn more this month?" you begin asking, "What system can I build that earns for years?" Instead of asking, "What can I buy?" you begin asking, "What can I create?" These questions reshape financial behavior. Consumption decreases, creation increases, ownership expands, and slowly a new financial reality begins forming. But mindset alone is not enough. You must pair mindset with action, which brings us to the final stage of the leverage code, execution. Chapter 18, Execution, Turning Knowledge into Wealth. There is a powerful truth about knowledge. It means nothing without execution. You can read hundreds of books, listen to countless podcasts, study strategies endlessly, but if action never follows, nothing changes. Execution is where the leverage code becomes real, where ideas transform into assets, where systems begin producing income, where leverage starts working. The first step of execution is starting small. Many people delay action because they want the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity, the perfect moment. But perfection rarely arrives. Progress begins with small steps. Investing your first $100, creating your first digital product, launching your first business idea, learning your first market skill. These small actions create momentum. Momentum is powerful. Once you begin moving, opportunities appear, skills improve, confidence grows. Each step becomes easier than the last. Execution also requires focus. The modern world offers endless distractions: social media, entertainment, constant notifications. But leverage builders guard their attention carefully, because attention determines progress. Focused effort produces meaningful results. Scattered effort produces frustration, which is why the wealthy often concentrate on a few powerful projects rather than chasing endless ideas. Consistency matters more than intensity. Working obsessively for a week and quitting for months produces little progress. But steady effort every day compounds dramatically. Even 1 hour per day spent building assets can transform a life over several years. Execution also involves evaluation. What is working? What is not? Where can systems improve? What opportunities are emerging? Regular reflection allows adjustments, and adjustments accelerate growth. Another crucial aspect of execution is courage, because building leverage often means stepping outside familiar routines, trying something new. Moments of doubt, moments where progress feels slow, where challenges appear overwhelming. But those who continue pushing forward discover something remarkable. Breakthroughs often arrive suddenly, after long periods of quiet work, and when they do, all the systems built earlier begin working together. Assets produce income, investments compound, opportunities multiply, momentum accelerates. This is the power of leverage, not a single breakthrough, but a network of forces working simultaneously. Time, assets, people, information, systems, execution, each element strengthening the others. When these forces align, the results can feel almost unbelievable. Money begins working faster than effort. Opportunities appear naturally. Financial pressure fades. Freedom expands. But the journey never truly ends, because the leverage code is not a destination. It is a philosophy, a way of thinking, a way of building, a way of turning possibility into reality. And in the final chapters, we will bring everything together: how to design your personal leverage strategy, how to build your first financial machine, and how ordinary individuals create extraordinary wealth by following one simple principle: build systems, then let leverage do the work. Chapter 19. Designing your personal leverage strategy. Now we arrive at one of the most important questions in the entire journey. Not how the rich build leverage, but how you build it. Because wealth strategies are not identical for everyone. Different skills, different resources, different opportunities, different environments. But the underlying principles remain the same. Your task is to design your own leverage strategy. Think of it like building a machine. Every machine has components: engines, gears, fuel, structure. The same is true for financial systems. You must choose the components that fit your strengths. Start with a simple question. What advantages do you already possess? Skills, knowledge, experience, connections, resources, time. Every person begins with something, even if it seems small. Leverage builders begin by identifying these advantages. Then they expand them. For example, someone with writing skills might build digital content, articles, books, courses, educational platforms. These assets can reach audiences globally, creating leverage through scale. Someone with business knowledge might start a small service, then systemize it, then hire a team, then expand, turning effort into an organization that operates independently. Someone passionate about technology might build software tools, apps, digital systems, automated platforms. Technology allows enormous scalability. One tool can serve thousands or millions of users. Your first step is not building a massive empire. It is building one small leverage system, one asset, one investment, one project capable of producing value repeatedly. Once that first system works, you reinvest the results, expanding into additional systems. This gradual process creates momentum, and momentum eventually creates acceleration. There are 3 phases in building leverage. Phase 1 is creation. This is the hardest stage. You invest time, energy, learning, trial and error, often with very little reward at first. Many people quit during this phase because progress feels slow. Phase 2 is stability. Your systems begin working reliably, income becomes more consistent, skills improve, confidence grows. You start seeing the results of earlier effort. Phase 3 is acceleration. Now leverage begins multiplying outcomes. Assets fund new assets. Systems scale rapidly. Opportunities arrive through networks. Growth becomes faster than effort. But this acceleration only happens if the early stages are built carefully. Strong foundations matter. Another critical part of your leverage strategy is risk management. Not avoiding risk entirely, but balancing it, diversifying investments, maintaining reserves, avoiding decisions that could destroy everything at once. Wealth builders rarely gamble everything on one opportunity. Instead, they create multiple experiments, small bets, test projects, learning experiences. Some fail, some succeed. The successful ones are expanded. This experimentation mindset is powerful. It transforms uncertainty into opportunity. Instead of fearing mistakes, you learn from them. Every experiment improves your understanding. Your strategy must also include continuous learning. Industries evolve, technology changes, economic environments shift. Those who stop learning eventually fall behind, but those who adapt remain powerful. Learning is not a temporary phase. It becomes a lifelong habit. Reading, studying, observing, testing. Every new insight strengthens your leverage system. But there is one final element necessary for a successful leverage strategy. Vision. Chapter 20. Vision. Seeing the future before it arrives. Every extraordinary achievement begins with vision, the ability to imagine something that does not yet exist, to see possibilities hidden within ordinary circumstances, to recognize potential where others see limits. Vision drives leverage builders forward. Without vision, people settle. They accept routines. They repeat familiar patterns. They live inside expectations created by others. But vision challenges those limits. It asks a simple but powerful question. What if? What if you built a business instead of working endlessly for someone else? What if you created assets instead of only consuming? What if you designed systems instead of trading time? What if financial independence became possible? Vision does not ignore reality, but it refuses to accept limitations as permanent. It sees problems as opportunities. It sees obstacles as puzzles waiting to be solved. Vision also creates direction. Without direction, effort becomes scattered. Energy is wasted chasing random opportunities. But when you have a clear vision, decisions become easier. You know what aligns with your goals and what does not. This clarity becomes powerful leverage because focus accelerates progress. Imagine trying to build 10 different projects simultaneously. Now imagine focusing on one powerful system. The difference in results becomes obvious. Vision also inspires persistence because building leverage requires patience. There will be setbacks, unexpected challenges, moments where progress feels slow. But vision reminds you why the effort matters. Great entrepreneurs often describe moments where they saw the future clearly before anyone else believed it was possible, before markets recognized the opportunity, before systems were built. Vision came first. Execution followed. But vision must remain grounded in action. Dreaming without building creates nothing. The most successful builders combine imagination with execution. They see possibilities. Then they construct systems to make those possibilities real. Vision also expands as progress continues. Your early goals may seem small compared to what becomes possible later. As knowledge grows, as resources expand, as leverage systems mature, new horizons appear. And that is the beauty of the leverage journey. Each level opens doors to the next. Each success reveals new opportunities. Each system strengthens the foundation for greater achievements. But the most powerful realization of all may be this. Wealth is not only about money, it is about freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of choice, freedom to pursue meaningful work, freedom to build a life aligned with your values. Leverage is simply the mechanism that makes this freedom possible. And in the final chapters of this audiobook, we will bring everything together. The complete blueprint. How ordinary individuals transform these ideas into real financial machines, and how the leverage code can reshape not only your finances, but your entire life. Dear viewer, since you watched this video to the end, you are among the small percentage of people who can appreciate our videos. Please write your rating in the comments, whether you like the video or even what you would improve. We read every comment under our videos, so yours will not go unread. Thank you. Chapter 21. The Wealth Flywheel. At the beginning of this journey, everything feels slow. Effort is high. Results are small. Progress feels almost invisible. This is the phase where most people quit. Not because the strategy is wrong, but because the momentum has not yet begun. But something fascinating happens when leverage systems begin connecting. A small investment produces income. That income funds another asset. That asset produces additional cash flow. That cash flow funds another system. Suddenly, the process starts feeding itself. This is what we call the wealth flywheel. A flywheel is a heavy rotating wheel used in machines. At first, it requires tremendous effort to start moving. Push after push, slow rotation, little visible progress. But once the wheel gains momentum, it begins spinning faster, and eventually it becomes almost unstoppable. Financial systems work exactly the same way. In the early stages, everything feels heavy. Every dollar saved requires discipline. Every investment feels risky. Every new system requires learning and effort. But if you keep pushing, momentum eventually appears. Consider someone who begins investing $200 per month. At first, the returns feel tiny, perhaps a few dollars, maybe a small increase in portfolio value, nothing life-changing, but over time, something powerful begins happening. Dividends begin arriving, investments grow, compounding accelerates. Years later, the portfolio begins producing significant income. What once felt insignificant becomes powerful. Now, imagine combining multiple flywheels, investments producing dividends, a business generating profits, digital assets selling automatically, rental properties producing cash flow. Each system becomes its own flywheel, and when those flywheels connect, the momentum multiplies. This is how many wealthy individuals operate. They do not rely on one engine. They build multiple engines, each generating energy for the others, each strengthening the entire system. One flywheel might fund another. Business profits funding investments. Investments funding real estate. Real estate funding new ventures. Each cycle accelerating growth. But there is a key insight here. The flywheel takes time, and the early stages require patience. Most people quit during the slow phase. They stop pushing before the wheel gains speed. They assume the strategy failed. But the truth is, the system simply needed more time. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Small, consistent effort builds momentum. Random bursts of effort do not. The flywheel rewards persistence. Another powerful feature of the flywheel is self-reinforcement. As wealth grows, opportunities expand, better investments become available, stronger partnerships emerge, more resources appear. Each level opens new doors. This is why the wealthy often seem to gain wealth faster over time. It is not luck. It is momentum. Years of accumulated leverage finally working together, and once the flywheel spins fast enough, financial progress begins accelerating dramatically. What once took years begins happening in months. Opportunities appear frequently, decisions become easier, resources expand rapidly. But there is still one final principle that determines how far this flywheel can spin. Identity. Chapter 22. Becoming the person who builds wealth. Many people try to change their finances without changing themselves. They look for strategies, shortcuts, investment tricks, but they ignore the most important transformation of all: identity. Your financial reality is deeply connected to who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who struggles financially, your behavior will reinforce that identity. If you see yourself as someone capable of building systems and wealth, your actions will align with that belief. This shift may seem subtle, but it changes everything because identity shapes behavior automatically, and behavior shapes outcomes. Consider someone who identifies as a builder. They naturally look for opportunities to create. They experiment with ideas. They improve systems. They study successful models. Creation becomes part of their lifestyle. Now consider someone who identifies as a consumer. Their attention focuses on spending, entertainment, short-term pleasure. Their energy flows toward consumption rather than creation. Neither identity forms overnight. They develop through repeated habits, small choices made daily, books read, conversations pursued, projects attempted. The wealthy cultivate the identity of builders. They see themselves as architects of opportunity, designers of systems, creators of value. This identity affects how they interpret the world. Where others see problems, they see markets. Where others see obstacles, they see puzzles. Where others see limits, they see possibilities. Identity also influences resilience. Builders expect challenges. They expect mistakes. They expect learning curves, because every meaningful system requires time to develop. Consumers often expect immediate results. When progress slows, they become discouraged. They abandon projects before momentum forms. But builders continue. They refine, adjust, improve. They understand that each failure contains information, and that information strengthens the next attempt. This identity shift may be the most important transformation in the entire leverage code, because strategies can be copied, systems can be studied, but identity determines whether those tools are used consistently. So ask yourself a powerful question. Not, how do I get rich? But, who must I become to build wealth? The answer to that question will shape your actions, your habits, your environment, your priorities. And once you become that person, the strategies in this audiobook stop feeling complicated. They become natural, part of how you think, part of how you operate, part of how you build your future. In the next chapter, we bring everything together, the final blueprint, the complete leverage code, a simple framework you can apply, starting today. Chapter 23, the complete leverage blueprint. By now, the pattern should be clear. Wealth is not built through luck, not through a single opportunity, not through one perfect investment. It is built through systems of leverage working together. When people hear stories about massive financial success, they often assume something magical happened. A breakthrough, a lucky moment, a sudden windfall. But when you examine the truth closely, the pattern looks very different. Success is rarely sudden. It is constructed, layer by layer, system by system, decision by decision. Let's bring everything together. The leverage code is built on several powerful forces. Each one strengthens the others. Each one multiplies results. Each one increases momentum. First, there is time. Time is the foundation of compounding. Every investment, every skill, every system, every relationship, all of them grow stronger with time. The earlier you start, the more powerful time becomes. Second, there are assets. Assets produce value repeatedly. Stocks, businesses, real estate, digital products, intellectual property. Assets convert effort into ongoing income. Without assets, money must always be earned manually. With assets, money begins working independently. Third, there is ownership. Ownership ensures you benefit from growth. When something expands in value, the owner captures that expansion. This is why the wealthy focus on equity. Ownership connects your future to the success of your systems. Fourth, there is debt used intelligently. Debt becomes leverage when it funds productive assets. It allows builders to move faster, acquire larger opportunities, expand systems more rapidly, but only when used responsibly. Debt without discipline destroys wealth. Debt with strategy accelerates it. Fifth, there are people. No powerful system grows in isolation. Partnerships, teams, mentors, collaborators. Every successful builder eventually multiplies effort through others. Human leverage expands possibility. Sixth, there is information. Understanding markets, recognizing patterns, filtering valuable insights from noise. Information improves decisions, and better decisions compound over time. Seventh, there are systems, repeatable processes that generate results automatically. Businesses, automated platforms, digital distribution, investment frameworks. Systems transform effort into scalable production. Eighth, there is execution. Ideas alone create nothing. Execution converts knowledge into action, and action builds assets. Ninth, there is identity. Who you believe you are determines what you build. Builders think differently. They prioritize creation over consumption. They design systems instead of chasing temporary rewards. And finally, there is vision, the ability to imagine a future that does not yet exist. Vision provides direction, focus, motivation. It keeps builders moving forward even when progress feels slow. When all these forces combine, the results become extraordinary. Time multiplies assets. Assets produce cash flow. Cash flow funds new systems. Systems scale through people. People generate ideas and opportunities. Information improves decisions. Execution turns plans into reality. The flywheel spins faster, and the machine begins producing wealth almost automatically. This is the leverage blueprint. Not complicated, but powerful, because it aligns your effort with forces that multiply results. And the beauty of this blueprint is that anyone can begin. You do not need millions of dollars. You do not need perfect conditions. You only need a decision to stop trading life for income and start building systems that multiply it. But before we close this journey, there is one final idea, one truth that separates those who read about wealth from those who actually create it. Chapter 24, The Courage to Begin. Every builder faces the same moment, the moment where knowledge meets reality, the moment where theory becomes action, the moment where a decision must be made. Will you continue living inside familiar patterns, or will you begin building something different? Because learning about leverage is easy. Watching motivational videos is easy. Reading financial books is easy. But building systems requires courage. The courage to try something new. The courage to risk failure. The courage to step outside the comfort of routine. And this is where many people stop. They hesitate. They delay. They wait for a perfect moment that never arrives. But builders understand something important. There is no perfect moment. There is only the moment you decide to begin. Your first investment may be small. Your first system may be simple. Your first project may feel uncertain. But progress begins the moment action starts. Think about every powerful system in the world today, every company, every platform, every technology, every financial empire. All of them began with a single step, a single idea, a single decision. And often those early steps looked insignificant. Small beginnings, limited resources, uncertain outcomes. But the builders continued. They refined, They improved, they expanded. Eventually, the systems became powerful. The leverage code does not promise instant riches. It promises something far more valuable, a path, a method, a way of thinking that aligns your effort with powerful forces. When you begin applying these principles, something shifts. Money stops feeling mysterious. Opportunity becomes easier to recognize. Your attention shifts from consumption to creation, from short-term rewards to long-term systems. Over time, these changes compound. Assets appear, income streams multiply, freedom expands, and the life you once imagined begins to take shape. The truth is simple. The world rewards builders, those who create value, those who design systems, those who think beyond immediate gratification. You do not need to become someone else. You simply need to begin thinking like a leverage builder, and then take the first step, because once the machine starts turning, momentum will do the rest. In the final chapter, we bring this journey to its ultimate conclusion, a final message for anyone ready to build their own leverage machine. Chapter 25, The Machine That Changes Everything. If you remember nothing else from this entire audiobook, remember this one idea. Wealth is not built by working harder. Wealth is built by building machines that work for you. For most people, life follows a simple pattern. Work, earn, spend, repeat. Month after month, year after year, decade after decade. It becomes a cycle that feels normal, even inevitable. But there is a hidden flaw in this cycle. When income stops, everything stops. The wealthy escape this trap by building machines, not physical machines made of metal, but financial machines made of systems, assets, leverage, and strategy. If this audiobook sparked a new perspective for you, take a moment to reflect. Which idea resonated the most? Which principle changed the way you think about money? Share it with someone who might need the same insight. Because sometimes a single idea can shift an entire future. And if this journey inspired you, let us know. What topic would you like the next audiobook to explore? More strategies about wealth creation, entrepreneurship, financial freedom, or mastering the mindset of high performers? Your feedback helps shape the next chapter of this series. Until then, remember the core message of the leverage code. Build systems, multiply value, let leverage do the heavy lifting, and design a life where money works harder than you ever have to. The machine is waiting. All that remains is for you to turn the key